Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geometry, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Tuesday, November 29th, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2022. You're looking at Mauna Loa eruption, currently 3 fissures moving down the flanks, already crossed an observation road and headed to the east. But the big story, more than 40 million under threat for severe storms that could whip up tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds, especially in the south. Keep calm. It's boom time. We're talking about a particularly dangerous situation tomorrow. Tornado watch has been issued for 3 southern states. And you can see the big bullseye here is in central and northern Mississippi, as well as some parts of Alabama and Louisiana. Storms could cause flooding in the south as well. Generally, about 2 to 4 inches of rain could fall in the south central United States, and the total could be greater in the far southern parts of Mississippi and Alabama. So we have a severe weather threat, and it is looming. In fact, 40 million people are under threat. And if we could just blow this up, there is the cone of uncertainty. It's moved a little bit east here into Alabama at this point, but we're going to get to the full forecast in just a moment. Spokane expected to get 8 to 12 inches of snow, ho, 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 mostly on Wednesday. And get ready for snow, Seattle. It's coming, and no one's bumming. A slow go Tuesday with snow and likely travel impacts. And that is for heads up. That is for Wisconsin. Now, the snowstorm is bringing highly dangerous avalanche conditions around the Salt Lake City region, especially above 9,500 feet as the lava flows below 7,000 feet on the Big Island. Did you know that the snow cover in the Northern Hemisphere is now at a 56-year high? Yeah, we reported on it 3 days ago, and it is not stopping, as Hawaii's Big Island gets a snow warning after Mauna Loa begins erupting. Can you imagine that? Tale of two worlds. National Weather Service says outbreak of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes is ongoing in the south. An outbreak of severe thunderstorms is underway in the south this evening. As expected to push into the overnight hours, severe thunderstorms are bringing strong tornadoes, very large hail, and severe wind gusts across parts of the lower to mid-Mississippi Valley, mid-south, and parts of the southeast. Tornado watches and warnings are in effect. A few long-track strong tornadoes are possible. The warnings and watches are down here in both of those states. Click on a county for more info. Winter storm watches and warnings up for the west, but they didn't mention that in the forecast. But we will mention the 16 feet of snow coming. Well, 15 feet of snow coming to the Pacific Northwest through mid-December. Shut up, Al! He can't even believe it's that deep. But he has been pulling up the boots for quite some time. Let's walk through the record snow that's going to be falling in the Sierras and many other regions. Here is your Wednesday. That snow is going to dip down through Washington State, bringing up to 3 feet of snow to many regions. Into Oregon as well, where we could be picking up to 16 inches in the high country. There'll be snow in Idaho, and it will be moving into western Wyoming by Thursday morning, and it's going to drop down into the Sierras before the weekend comes. Here is through Saturday morning, heavy snow in the North Sierras, moving all the way down to the south. Most of the state of Nevada covered in snow. Take a look at this. Snow everywhere in the Northwest, moving down the Rocky Mountain front through our region into New Mexico by the weekend. And then we'll be seeing the snow double up in a second system for the west here as the Sierras pick up record snow as well as the Cascades. This is going to be a record-breaking few weeks, I believe, in the West. So stay tuned for what appears to be 4 to 6 feet of snow in Northern California, 7 or 8 feet of snow for Oregon and Washington, and up to 15 feet of snow for British Columbia. That is just insane, and that's just for the next 2 weeks, folks. Now, the Hawaii volcano eruption has some on alert and does draw onlookers, but mainly they don't want tourists coming to the Big Island to create more problems. This is an ongoing event, and it's creating a dangerous situation. Now, as Mauna Loa erupts, Hawaii officials warn of Pele's hair. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. Do you even know what it is? Well, Pele's hair is a byproduct of volcano eruptions. They're thin glass fibers named after the volcanic deity Pele, according to the National Park Service. Piles of the long hair-like fibers can be found near volcanic summits in Hawaii, and the fibers resemble golden mats of hair. The Park Service says on a page about the phenomenon. When bubbles of gas near the surface of lava flow bursts, it can stretch the skin of the molten lava into long threads. Strands of Pele's hair can stretch up to 2 feet in length, but are less than a micron, or 0.001 millimeters wide. They're light enough to be picked up and carried by the wind, and they are dangerous for your lungs. Pele's hair can form mats up to several inches deep, and the fragile mats are easily broken. But because they are glass, they can form slivers on the skin or eyes, the agency warns. So they're dangerous for your eyes, your skin, your lungs. And caution around these fibers is necessary to avoid injury from the slivers, which can lead to mesothelioma and lung cancer. Now, the Mauna Loa eruption current activity and updates. We've got some amazing photography. Take a look at the glow. It's about to get dark again in Hawaii. We're going to see even more spectacular footage coming in just a few hours. This was sunrise, or just today, and you can see here some of the flows before the sun came up, and we even have a little video here of that, some of the fissures opening up on that northeastern flank. Now these fissures are at least as wide and as long as the last Icelandic eruption. But now we have 3 fissures that have opened up on the side of the mountain, which is up from 1 earlier today. So the eruption has been increasing as time progresses. Now the seismicity has been remained pretty steady throughout the day. Here is 1 day all magnitude. It's been, the activity down in Pahala here has calmed down, and it's now, the activity is confining itself up to the summit here, not in the caldera though. Here's where the fissure eruptions on the north is happening, but we do have some activity now here to the south and the east. So if these southeast fissures open up, we could be seeing some flows coming directly south, and in fact, that's what we have seen. We have a photo and video chronology of the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory and some of their pictures. If you want to go check that out, all the links will be below. Now, before we get to more details on the lava flows and our predictions and more amazing science, let's talk about why volcanic ash clouds endanger aircraft. Shall we? Well, volcanic ash clouds can in fact be deadly. And what happens when aircraft encounter ash clouds is, well, quite spectacular. Critically, it said the ingestion of volcanic ash by engines may cause serious deterioration of the engine performance due to erosion of moving parts and particular or complete blocking of fuel nozzles. And there's more additional troubles. Volcanic ash contains particles whose melting point is below that of the engine's internal temperature. And during flights, these particulates or particles immediately melt if they go through the engine. And going through the turbine, the melted material then rapidly cools down and sticks to the turbine vanes. And this disturbs the flow of the high-pressure combustion gases, adding insult to injury and more dangers. In the worst case, the disorder of the flow may stall the engine and, well, cause immediate catastrophe. So let's come over here to one of the live streams here. As the sun is setting, we don't see much activity. I'll leave you links to all the live streams. It will be much better once it gets dark in a few hours here on the Big Island. Lots of, it looks like clouds as well as ash and haze over the island. So not a lot of good viewing points, but we do have a brand new updated lava flow map. Here is where the initial outburst occurred over 36 hours ago in the caldera floor, which was covered in lava. That quickly ceased after about 6 to 12 hours, and then active fissures began moving down the northern and eastern flank here. And only one fissure was actually flowing earlier today during our last update, but now we have an active fissure here, an active fissure here, and another flow front here and here. So this active fissure is causing two flow fronts now. Now we have a flow front that is coming to the south and may begin moving south. This is all as of 12 p.m. Hawaii time, which is just about an hour ago, which would be about 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I really don't know the lag, but it's about 6 hours. And so the main lava flows that we've been looking at from photographs from the other night were only as far as the end of this line here, approaching the observatory road. They've now crossed the road in two places, so the NOAA observatory has now been cut off, essentially. And the road is now heading towards Saddle Road, where it was once 10 miles away, 6 miles away, and now it is just several miles away. And the lava is now approaching 7,000 feet and rapidly moving. This is some of the least viscous lava on Earth, meaning it's the most liquid, the closest towards water. It is the most basaltic, coming from the purest source, meaning it's very mafic. It's very dark, and that's what the black basalt is. So very low viscosity, very low amount of quartz in this lava, and it flows very, very fast. So we now have three lava fronts, a flow front here moving at the northeast rift zone and potentially then south. We've got another flow front here that is moving, thankfully, to the north, and the main flow front is now approaching Saddle Road. So lots of developments in the eruption. And you can see here back in the 1880, 1881 eruption, that's this olive drab type. The majority of the flows happened to the north towards Hilo, and a small sliver went down to the south. So the eruption we're having now is very similar to the 1880, 1881 event, which lasted for a very long time. So we may be in for a long ride. So buckle up, because we've got a long way to go in this eruption. So stay tuned for more updates. Space Weather News Update. The sun is blank. Here's the latest HMI intensity, and there's nothing going on at Solar Max whatsoever. The sun is in grand solar minimum, regardless of what you hear or what you think. Now, we do have geomagnetic activity in the 3-day geomagnetic storm forecast straight across the board, and this is thanks to some amazing coronal holes, including coronal hole 51, which should be coupling with us in just a moment. Now, the problem with that is that our plasma wind speed is still up very high at 600 kilometers, as recently as high as 650, and this is bringing us right in that cusp of geomagnetic instability at KP4. So we're very high already. When this coronal hole stream hits us, it's going to send us even higher, which means even more geomagnetic storm activity. KP5 or 6 coming for the next 24 to 36 to 48 hours. And we do have a small CME that came off of the sun here. This is from that C flare that we can see probably right there peaking. And so small CME that could be heading our way to add more insult to injury to the solar wind. So the next few days could be bumpy as far as communications, but there will be amazing aurora. So the current aurora forecast isn't looking that spectacular, but this coronal hole is about to couple with us, and this baby is going to light up. Mark my words. Now, the ice holds evidence of an ancient massive solar storm. And if you watch our channel and you're a follower, you know we've been talking about the Charlemagne event back in 774 for about half a decade now. And it turns out that the Charlemagne event would be about 1,000 times larger than the Carrington event. Would literally fry the entire grid on the planet in an instant. It would be a fireworks display beyond reproach. And then quickly humanity would wither away and die in just a few weeks. It would be a total catastrophe, back into the Stone Age. Now, an ice core sample dating back 7176 BC, yes, that's over 9,176 years ago, is showing an even larger event. Now, an analysis of radioactive chemicals in the cores indicate that one of the most powerful solar storms ever recorded, ever even known, has been identified. We know that most high-energy events are accompanied by geomagnetic storms, said Raymond Muschler, a professor of geology at Sweden's Lund University. So it's likely that they were visible auroras. Do you think? If this, in fact, is bigger than the Charlemagne event, which is 1,000 times bigger than the Carrington event, this would be a big boom and might even hit the category of micronova. So we have a micronova in 774 AD, a micronova back here in 9,176 years ago. And so the micronova doesn't happen every 12,000 years, regardless of what they're saying. It happens quite often, and it doesn't end the planet. It simply reworks what's going on. And so, yeah, we've got some large solar energetic proton events, more and more happening. Ice cores show evidence at 993 or 994 AD, 774, 775 AD, 660 BC, and now 71, 76 BC. So that's 4 micronovas or mega flare events or solar energetic proton event, whatever you want to call it, since the beginning of the Holocene. That means that they're pretty frickin' common. And here's the paper. Cosmogenic radionucleotides reveal an extreme solar particle storm near a solar minimum 9125 years BP. And they're happening near a solar minimum. Should we be scared? Yeah, we should be. Now, that event in 9100 years ago caused the most radical cooling on Earth for the entire Holocene. So there's that. And Al Gore had nothing to do with it. So this mini ice age, which is really, the temperature fell over 4 degrees C after this event, is quite spectacular. And we can look at multiple data sets and see this massive drop down in temperature just after that 9100-year event. First, there was a warming in Europe and then a rapid cooling. And a rapid cooling in the northern margins and a rapid cooling in the Scotia margin. So, this was recorded worldwide, this event. And it, well, resulted in massive climate change in the cooling direction. Now, the Air Force is going to unveil its new B-21 Raider stealth bomber on Friday, and it looks a lot like, well, a lot of the UFOs we've seen over the last decade. Big triangles hovering above. Now, great news. Beyond Meat gets more bad news. Not only has the company tanked over 80% in the last few years, but new leaked documents reveal what's been found in manufacturing plants where these products are made. Horrid conditions. And they're coming from Philadelphia, a city I escaped from almost a decade ago. Photos and internal documents from a Beyond Meat plant in Pennsylvania show apparent mold and listeria and other food safety issues. Compounding problems at the factory, the company had expected to play a major role in its future, but there is no future in fake plant meat, apparently. Look at this mold here. What the heck is that? It's like in the grinder, a piece of metal. So, lots of things happening at the plant, and it's not looking good for Beyond Meat at all. Shut up, Al! He's crying in his hole, but that's where he deserves to be, crying in his hole. Yeah, he owns a huge stake in Beyond Meat. Now, Musk is to release the Twitter files. These are going to be bigger than anything that has happened in the last 8 decades, in my opinion. It's going to show government collusion with big tech. I've been trying to expose this revolving door for 15 years. And I dabbled in with the Monsanto and the revolving door and the U.S. government and the FDA, and no one cared. That's because it never hit the mainstream. But this is now going to be all over Twitter. Billions of people will know about it. And the mainstream will not be able to deny the Twitter files. On free speech suppression and the fact that we've been shadow banned for, well, since we began. Thank you, Elon, for all the work you're doing to support free speech. And I can't wait till the Twitter files dump. Now, here is the state of our country, and it's sad. A Florida woman is suing Velveeta for $5 million, claiming that her instant macaroni didn't cook fast enough. Well, let me first say that That's not even food. And these manufactured products from multinational corporations are designed to kill you. So the fact that you're suing them to consume a product that has no nutritional value or benefit for you as a human says a lot about the human species. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about the grand solar minimum that we've all been experiencing now since solar cycle 24 began, Valentina Zarkova is back again. She did a wonderful interview with Tom Nelson. We're going to get Tom on the channel. I think it's about time we get Tom Nelson on the channel. He's got enough subscribers that he's relevant. But he got Valentina Zarkova on, and he spent a very long time listening to what she had to say, which sometimes is hard to listen to and hard to understand. But you get the point here on this graph that starting now, cycle 25 and 26 are completely out of phase. And that means bad things for the Earth. In fact, a cooling period that will last for 20 more years, at least, with the peak coming in the next decade, which will be the bottom of the Eddy minimum and not the Eddy minimum itself. See, the Eddy minimum will comprise of 4 or 5 solar cycles, in my opinion, and it is all explained in this video podcast by Tom Nelson and Valentina Zarkova, which just came out, has very few views. Go over there and take a look at it. Tell them what you think of it. It's really an amazing description of all of her work through the years and the machine learning she's used and the fact that she's using more detailed data from our sun than even plasma physicists are using. So the information she's getting is much better than anything out there, which is why she was right about the last solar cycle, and she's right about the ongoing grand solar minimum, as well as us. Imagine that. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I hope you guys got something out of the video. We love each and every one of you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. And be a hero. Share the video. And that's a boom.